In the late 1980s and early 1990s, it always seemed that Aliceinchains, led by the exceptional vocalist Layne Staley, were on a journey that set them apart from the rest. Their music wasn't just a catchy tune. It was a deep dive into Layne Staley's inner world. Those haunting struggles and personal demons provided the raw material for some of their most unforgettable songs. When you listen to albums like Dirt in 1992, Jar of Flies in 1994, and their self-titled record shortly after, you're not just hearing music, you're entering Layne's emotional battleground. But Staley's story went beyond the music. It was a roller coaster, like hitting the jackpot as a kid and then enduring years of relentless battles. His life was a mirror, reflecting both the highs and lows that we all encounter. Today, let's dive into the life of Layne Staley, a musical legend whose story reminds us all of the incredible twists and turns that life can take. Layne Staley was born on August 22, 1967 at Overlake Hospital in Bellevue, Washington. His parents, Philip Staley and Nancy Elizabeth Staley, had high hopes for their young boy. But there was something about Layne that he wanted to change from an early age. His middle name, Rutherford. He really didn't like it and even got upset when someone called him by that name. So during his teenage years, he decided to legally change it to Thomas, inspired by his inspiration for Tommy Lee, the drummer of Motley Crue. Music was in Layne's blood from a very young age. When he was just 2 or 3 years old, he joined a rhythm band in Bellevue, and he was the youngest member of the group. By the time he was 9, he was already dreaming of becoming a singer. However, Layne's childhood was not without its challenges. When he was 7 years old, his parents divorced, and from then on, he was raised by his mother and stepfather, Jim Elmer. During his time at Meadowdale High School in Linwood, he even adopted his stepfather's surname for a while and went by the name Layne Elmer. Layne's musical journey took off thanks to his parents' record collection, which introduced him to bands like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. He also had a love for hard rock and metal acts like The Stooges, Anthrax, Judas Priest, Saxon, Rainbow, and Merciful Fate, as well as the glam rock of Twisted Sister and the iconic Van Halen. Additionally, industrial and new wave acts like Ministry, The Lords of the New Church, and Skinny Puppy all left a significant imprint on his musical taste. His biggest idols were the legendary Prince and the iconic David Bowie. At the age of 12, Layne Staley started playing the drums. While he played in glam bands during his early teens, he was determined to become a singer. In 1984, he became part of a band called Sleaze, alongside other students from Shorewood High. This group would later include future members of the Dehumanizers and Second Coming. In 1985, Layne and his band Sleaze made a cameo appearance in Father Rock, a low-budget movie featured on Seattle's public access channel. The following year, Sleaze transformed into Aliceinchains, a band known for their unique style of dressing in drag and playing speed metal. They made a name for themselves by performing covers of songs by Slayer and Armored Saint in the Seattle area. Layne Staley's journey in the music world began when he met guitarist Jerry Cantrell at a party in Seattle in 1987. Cantrell had already been impressed by Staley's singing when he watched him perform with his band Aliceinchains in Tacoma. Cantrell was going through a tough time and was even homeless, so Staley invited him to live with him at the Music Bank, where they worked and lived as roommates for over a year. Aliceinchains eventually disbanded, and Staley joined a funk band that needed a guitarist. He asked Cantrell to join as a sideman, but Cantrell agreed only if Staley joined his band, which included drummer Sean Kinney and bassist Mike Starr. In a somewhat unusual move, they even auditioned terrible lead singers in front of Staley to make him realize that he should join their band. The breaking point was when they auditioned a male stripper, and Staley decided to join them as the lead vocalist. Cantrell admired Staley's voice, and they formed a band that went through various name changes, like Fuck and Diamond Lie, before settling on Aliceinchains. Staley received permission from his former bandmates to use the name. Aliceinchains caught the attention of a local promoter, Randy Hauser, who offered to pay for demo recordings. Unfortunately, their plans were thwarted when the studio they were supposed to record in was shut down during a major cannabis raid. However, their demo, the Treehouse tapes, eventually made its way to music managers Kelly Curtis and Susan Silver, who introduced them to Columbia Records. They signed with Columbia in 1989. In 1990, Aliceinchains released their debut album, Facelift, featuring the hit single Man in the Box, which was co-written by Staley. The album's success established their signature style and set the stage for their career. Their next release, the acoustic EP Sap in 1992, showcased their versatility, and the band even made a cameo appearance in the movie Singles. In 1992, they also released their critically acclaimed album Dirt, which became their most successful and was certified quadruple platinum. During their tour in Brazil in 1993, Staley saved Mike Starr's life after he had overdosed. As their career progressed, Staley began contributing more lyrics to the band's songs, addressing personal issues like drug use and depression. Despite his struggles with addiction, the band continued to make music, releasing Jar of Flies, which became the first EP to debut at #1 on the charts in 1994. Staley's personal life was marred by his battle with addiction, and his drug use started taking a toll on his physical condition. He entered rehab programs in the early 1990s, but staying clean proved challenging. The band's manager even hired bodyguards to keep drugs away from him during tours. Staley's engagement to Demery Laura Perot ended tragically when she died of a drug overdose in 1996. This loss deeply affected Staley, pushing him into a profound depression. In 1997, Staley attended the Grammy Awards with Aliceinchains, but his health had deteriorated significantly. Reports of his isolation and declining physical condition circulated, and he rarely left his Seattle condo. He began recording with the supergroup Class of '99, but his appearances became increasingly rare. Staley's mother and friends tried to maintain contact with him, but his addiction and reclusiveness made it difficult. In the midst of his struggles, he made his last public appearance at a Jerry Cantrell concert in 1998, declining to sing on stage. Now, despite efforts from friends and bandmates to help him, Layne Staley's battle with addiction ultimately took its toll. His physical appearance deteriorated, with lost teeth, pale skin, and severe emaciation. He withdrew from his friends and bandmates, who repeatedly attempted to get him into rehab without success. In the final years of his life, Layne Staley remained a recluse, and his battle with addiction became increasingly challenging. His friends and family watched helplessly as he spiraled further into isolation and addiction, ultimately leading to his tragic end. On April 19, 2002, a concerning call was made to 911. Layne Staley's mother, Nancy McCullum, had not heard from her son in about 2 weeks. His accountants had also noticed that no money had been withdrawn from his bank account during that time. Together with her ex-husband, Jim Elmer, they went to Staley's home. When they arrived, they were met with a heartbreaking sight. Layne Staley, who once stood 6 feet tall, now weighed a mere 86 pounds. His body had started to decompose, and medical examiners had to use dental records to confirm his identity. The autopsy and toxicology report showed that Layne Staley had passed away from a lethal mixture of heroin and cocaine, commonly known as a speedball. His death was determined to have occurred 2 weeks before his body was found, on April 5th. Coincidentally, the same day that fellow grunge musician Kurt Cobain had died 8 years earlier. His death was ruled as accidental. The news of Layne Staley's passing deeply affected his Aliceinchains bandmates. They expressed their sorrow and love for their friend, highlighting his sense of humor, humanity, and the inspiration he provided. They acknowledged his musical genius and how he had gifted the world with great music. An informal memorial for Layne Staley took place on April 20th, 2002 at the Seattle Center. Around 100 fans and friends attended, including Aliceinchains band members Jerry Cantrell, Mike Starr, Mike Inez, and Sean Kinney, as well as Chris Cornell of Soundgarden. Layne Staley's body was cremated, and a private memorial service was held on April 28, 2002 on Bainbridge Island in Washington's Puget Sound. The service was attended by family, friends, and music personalities, including Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart. They paid tribute to Layne with heartfelt performances, singing songs like the Rolling Stones' Wild Horses and the Lovemongers' Sand. Now, following Layne Staley's passing, Aliceinchains remained inactive for some time, as his loss was deeply felt by the band members. However, in 2005, Cantrell, Kinney, and Inez reunited for a benefit concert. Several vocalists filled in for Layne, and the positive response encouraged them to formally reunite in 2006. William Duvall of Comes With the Fall joined as the vocalist, paying homage to Layne Staley's legacy while contributing to new music with the band. Layne Staley's memory continues to live on in the music of Alice in Chains. If you enjoyed this journey through Layne Staley's life, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more engaging content about music history.